Hi, I'm Laura Lottie.
And I'm Michael.
Welcome to the Home Extension. So how have you been, Mike?
Excellent. I actually just joined this thing. I think it's like Welcome to Sun Prairie, or I was at school, and I actually went on my own Facebook, and I always look at it through my tablet, so I didn't really realize that everybody can kind of see like everything I'm interested in, and because I only see just the news feed or whatever, and it said like some things you might be interested in, like Welcome to Sun Prairie and what's happening in Sun Prairie. And what I saw in there is through AARP, I guess Sun Prairie is ranked number 4 as of small towns to live in, and moving up the ladder. And I know last night was the wine tasting tour. I think it was the second time, where all the businesses got together and we could go around and taste all the wines. And I think it just promotes business so that everybody can come in and, and I think it's nice to keep it all in-house and in town, promote the small business owners and, keep the town alive.
Yeah. So you're almost done your first year?
Yep, I am done. Actually, it was yesterday.
Oh, congratulations.
Right. And school is, it's not easy. I mean, definitely. And especially like the interior design program. I mean, they just load you up with, it's more projects. It's more busy work than anything else. It's not, so much reading or math. It's like scaling homes and putting together a whole plan. And so you really have to dedicate a lot of time. It's almost like an extra 40 hours a week of schoolwork, and especially for the last project. And so I slept for 18 hours today or yesterday. I need to get some rest.
Nice.
So do you have any big plans for the summer?
Working. Just a lot of work. I have 3 closings next week. I have 7 next month. Just super busy. The market's good. It's hot. It's still low inventory though. So.
Right. Yeah. So I guess what you suggested, if you wanted to sell your house now, would be the best time. Because I know some houses only stay on the market for 2 days or 3 days or a week, just depending. And I know one of the ladies that I went to school with, she actually put her house on the market and it sold in 2 weeks. And she actually, I don't think she was really ready for that. And she was like, oh, now we have to rent a house for 6 months because their condo in Plymouth, Minnesota wasn't ready yet. So, but, I guess that's just the way it goes.
Yeah,
so be prepared, I guess.
Rentals are really hard to find, too.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of rentals, I don't think.
Nope. I actually, one of my investors, they just bought a house for a rental in Sun Prairie. It's a really cute one, so they're closing next month.
Oh, that's great. I was going to say awesome, but I'm not going to.
Oh, well, we have a return guest today. We have Jason Hafeman, Project Home. Thank you for coming back. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me again.
Great to see you.
Yeah, good to see both of you too.
Thanks.
So you had some fun and exciting things happen earlier this month and a little bit late last month and everything with Hammer with a Heart. You want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, it's it was an exciting time, a stressful time, but a great bit of fun for everybody that was involved. So Hammer with a Heart is one of our main volunteer events that Project Home that we organize each year. So we've got the Paint-a-thon, which incorporates volunteers as well, which we do over the summer, coming up in August. A little plug for that. But Hammer with a Heart is in the spring, where we're taking care of major repair issues on homes around Dane County. And it's a situation where we've got some great committed volunteer groups involved from the trades, and then we put those together with other volunteers from the community to really make a big impact for somewhere between 6 to 8 homeowners each year through that program.
What kind of siding do you deal with then?
I mean, it's a mix of a lot of different projects, to be honest with you. So usually every year there's a couple of roof replacements. Sometimes we've got windows, doors, siding work, deck repairs, replacements, porches, ramps, and then sometimes some work inside the home, some bathroom or kitchen repairs, remodels, that type of stuff as well. So in addition to that, there's outside things to do like regrading, making sure we've got all the water running away from the house, which is a big common issue for everybody. Not everybody, but a lot of people, far too many homeowners. So we put together all those things, all those resources, get a lot of support from different businesses, suppliers, and make a big difference with about 200, 250 volunteers every year through that program.
Oh, wow. So when people want to do that, they have to apply. Do they do it like, is there like a long waiting list? Is it like a 2-year or 1 year? Or what kind of waiting list is that for?
It's a situation where people apply each year for the program, and we have a cutoff of usually I think it's the end of September. The end of August. Now we've moved that up a little bit for planning purposes. But we take applications, then I'll go out and do evaluations for every person that applies. But they apply directly to us. It fits within our mission of sticking within the income guidelines of about 80% of the state median income or below for your income. But it is also only for homeowners. And the whole intent is to keep people in their homes. So a lot of times they're homes that need repairs. The homeowners are not able to take care of this on their own with their budget, or they don't have the skills or physical abilities to do it. And then we look at each situation, each house, evaluate it, and see which ones are a good fit for our volunteer groups. And then we know which projects we can do each year based on that.
Do they have to write like a letter kind of thing? Like why they want to be chosen to do it and everything?
There's a varying degree what people provide in their initial application. We need all the basic information, financials, address, their age, number of people in the household, all those type of things. And then we look at a lot of what is the situation. Because there are people that might be at a certain income level, but then also have run into serious health issues and have extreme medical bills and some other things that are really weighing them down financially. And so we look at those type of situations too and make judgments based on, who's in the highest need, who can we help appropriately with the time and the budget and the skills that we have on hand. And then we select projects from there. So because some projects are too large, to be honest. We can't, it's not a home makeover program. It's really trying to focus on a handful, 2 or 3 major repair areas, fix those up, and get the house in a good, safe working order for the homeowner again.
And these are all people that are volunteering?
It's almost all volunteer labor, yes.
Wow.
It's really incredible.
I know that contractors are super busy right now.
They are, and it just shows the commitment of the people that are involved. We always have a project run by the NARI group of Madison, National Association of the Remodeling Industry. Findorf has been with us from the beginning. This was our 14th year. They do a project every year. You've also got Wanakee Remodeling, who's done a roof project for the last 8 years for us. And then the Carpenters Union, the local Carpenters Union leads a project, and the Madison Area Builders, and then Project Home. Between those groups, we get a lot of incredible work done, really, each year.
Oh, you were saying that you try to do at least 5 homes or 6 homes a year.
Yep.
Haven't you already done 5?
We have done 106 since the start of the program. So this year we did 6 total.
Right.
Last year we did our 100th home, which was a big milestone for us, as our 13th year of Hammer with a Heart. So in year 14, we started off kind of with the theme of we're on to our next 100 homes. So we're working on it. We're down 6 this year. We got 6 in the books. But there were 3 roof replacements this year, some major roof replacements. Some of the worst roofs that I've actually seen, where we had to resheet, the entire 2 of them. We had to resheet 2 of them. And then another one we actually caught before it got to a situation where it was going to be a problem. So it was kind of right on the edge of this needs a replacement. If it goes another winter, there might be damage to the home. So can we get this done? And we were able to do that with the help of our volunteers and sponsors. So those were some things that were done. We redid some decks. We did 13 new windows at a home. The windows were original from a house built in 1887. So that's a big impact for that homeowner with her energy bills as well. In addition to replacing some exterior doors and rebuilding a house. Well, not rebuilding a whole house, but we did a lot of fixes on the house in Sun Prairie this year that we're going to talk more about. Right. That was in some serious need of repairs, and we did a lot there.
So do you ever do, like, when you take out the windows like that, do you ever worry about lead-based paint, or do you have to...
Sure. We have...
Do you have somebody have to come in?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's basically all the people working on this are lead trained. So they all have their lead safety cards, and they know how to work around it. We set up everything appropriately, have HEPA vacuums, clean everything up, and, we work... I mean, that's one incredible thing about it. It's a volunteer project, but it's all people that know what they're doing, and they're able to do everything the appropriate way. So when these things get done, these repairs get done through Hammer with a Heart, the homeowners can feel really comfortable that even though there's not a contract, there's not a warranty, there's not those type of things that are involved when you hire someone, they feel really good about the quality of work and what's been done to their house.
They have to almost be FHA approved, right? I mean, you know what I mean? Like there are certain guidelines. I mean, like don't you have an inspector come in and check stuff, or are they like part of it, or?
Well, we do get building permits for all the projects.
Right.
Okay, excuse me. And so what happens is with that, obviously we start there with the building permits. I whether the cities follow up on and inspect those or not, I don't know. That's not up to us. But we do get the proper permits. We have the proper people doing the work, and then there's always a crew leader or a project lead that at the end of the project will go by and review every piece of the project to make sure that it was done appropriately.
Kind of like a general contractor.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you guys ever just pull off a paint sample and just bring it to like the lab?
To test for lead?
Yeah.
We basically know based on the age of the home whether we need to expect for lead-based products or not. And so we'll just err on the side of caution for that for the most part. But there are varying degrees. Whether you're working outside, there are certain parameters for doing lead-based work outside versus inside. And so the one thing about lead that's good is that it's a very heavy dust. So cleanup isn't as substantial as some of the other issues you may run across in terms of dealing with products that have been used in the past that have certain contaminants in them.
Yeah.
Because I know, like with linoleum flooring, that it's better just to go over the top of it than try to take it out because asbestos and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. I mean, taking apart a home and putting it back together and all that stuff, like there's stuff in there. I mean, there can be. I mean, I'm glad you have a strong crew that actually, it sounds like they're very capable of what they're doing.
Yeah, it's pretty great when you see everybody kind of coming together to really work for, just for the good of helping out someone in the community. I mean, they're not getting paid for this. They're giving up a lot of their extra time, free time, other things that a lot of times they're squeezing this in around their other work. Right. For some of the prep work that needs to be done. We do have a big volunteer day that we have every year where it's a day that everyone's committed, and we have a lot of work done on every site that day with upwards of 200 volunteers. We get lunches for them and T-shirts and there's whole signs and the whole gamut. But that's a full day for most of the groups. But there is a lot of additional work that goes in either before that with planning and then also some stages that have to be done in advance of that big day. So there's a lot of people behind the scenes that aren't even necessarily visible that day that put in a lot of extra hours. And it's great that they have that commitment to do that and then also follow up when things are done.
Tell us a little bit more about what were you saying, a paintbrush marathon?
Oh, Paint-a-thon. So it's Paint-a-thon is our other big volunteer effort. So we have two main volunteer programs. It's Hammer with the Heart, which is repairs, and Paint-a-thon, which is exterior painting. So that's a program that this will be its 27th year of Paint-a-thon coming up, and we've done homes around Dane County. We've done over 500 homes through the years since 1989, and that program in particular is one that's a little bit less complicated to put together because we're not having to worry about all the materials and tearing into homes and all that sort of stuff. Right. We're basically down to scraping and painting the exterior of wood-sided homes. But we can do a lot with that too, and we're around 200 volunteers for that project each year, and get to 8 to 12 homes normally with the volunteer groups that we have.
Well, just for the people out there, how many different departments do you have? Like you have project home, right? And then the painting, and then... Sure.
So Project Home is we're the overall agency, so the local nonprofit, been here almost 45 years, and off of that we have some government contracted work that we do for the energy efficiency work for weatherization for low-income residents. We also do a minor repair program in Dane County and Greene County, and then also the city of Madison has its own minor home repair program. So that's repairs that are roughly $3,000 or less to do. Can be plumbing, can be electrical, can be structural, all those type of things. Then in addition to that, there's a major rehab program in Dane County and in Greene County that we operate.
Kind of like where the Packers showed up, right?
No, those are government programs.
Oh, okay.
Hammer with the Heart is a privately funded volunteer-based program that we put together and organize. So that's kind of separate from that. And then also Paint-a-thon our volunteer programs are separate from the government contracted work. And then, since you asked, in addition to that, we've created a social enterprise, where people can hire us to do home repair work or energy efficiency work, anyone in the community, and then we can take proceeds from that and funnel it back to support our nonprofit efforts in the community. So it's just a step that we've taken to make ourselves a little bit more stronger as we see some different things happening with the government-funded programs.
So with that, like if they hire you and go through you,
right?
Do they actually get like a better deal? Would you say, or
we bid out work? I mean, people can call us. We'll go out, do an estimate, and put a bid in, and they can decide whether they want to hire us or not. What they do know from us is that we have been doing this type of work longer than almost anyone in the area. Our people are well trained, both to be safe for their work, but also safety for the homeowners and the homes we're working on. Everyone is lead safe, asbestos safe, for all the types of things that we encounter. So it's really quality and also experience and knowing how to treat different homes. That's what we hang our hat on for our type of work.
What I'd suppose, like, if they would hire you, I mean, also you have like, oh, I want to get my house painted, and then 20 people show up and bang, it's done like in a half hour, and you're like, oh, wow. Not like, like where you have to wait like 2 weeks, for each baseboard or whatever, or each,
So how about you tell us about the story, Madeline's story?
Well, I mean, it's pretty remarkable. There's always great stories every year with, especially the volunteer programs, but with all of our work. But in these volunteer programs, we really get to know people because it's a very intensive process. They apply, I meet with them, spend time going through the house. They point out what are their concerns. And then we go through this process of finding out whether they're approved for the program, whether they're a good fit. Can we do the project? Then there's follow-up communication with the volunteer leaders that get involved, some of the sponsors, other volunteer groups. And so we kind of go through this process of almost, between about 5 or 6 months from the start to finish, where we have several points of contact. So you really get to know them. And one of the projects this year, they were all great, but one of them in Sun Prairie this year was just incredible with the story. So there's a homeowner, Madeline, who lives in Sun Prairie, who she has a caseworker at the Colonial Club, who basically said, I want to find some help for this person. And so she sent in an application. First, she was looking to paint her house. So her house was green initially. She's always liked the unique colors, so we tried to stick with that with the makeover as well, but that's what the house was previously. Now, the issue was that this home had asbestos slate siding on it. When we tested it, it was 22% asbestos, and the siding was shrinking and cracking.
Is that a shed?
That was her old shed, which was another concern for us. So, as you can see, some of the siding kind of peeling back. Well, water was getting behind the siding, damaging the sidewalls, damaging the house itself. So there was a lot to consider here. When we found out there was asbestos slate siding, we had to get a contractor specifically for that to have it remediated and disposed of properly, which Environmental Construction Services helped us out there, which was great. And once that was done, then it was assessing what repairs needed to be done to the exterior walls and rewrapping some of the windows with aluminum, getting the other wood covered with aluminum, and then we went with a vinyl siding so she wouldn't have to worry about painting ever again. And she picked the color, which was fun. Turned out to be kind of Venetian gold, but it was kind of this gold yellowish color, which stood out a little bit in the neighborhood, and that was her concern. She looked around at the houses in the neighborhood, and she said, I don't see one this color. Let's go with this color. So she loves being unique, and it was great to be able to do all of that for her. But one thing that was just amazing to me is that each time I spoke with her, I learned more about some of the struggles she's had and some of her story, but she wasn't a person that laid that all out on me the first time I met her. It wasn't like she was saying, oh, I need all this help, and they saying exactly why. She was more of a person that, as I got to know her, I learned some of these things, and it wasn't like it just came out in general conversation, which that's when I learned that she lived in the house and she was 3 months old, that this has always been her home. So that became a big deal to us, to keep her where she's always been home. And I think that was just a remarkable part to it. But also she has 2 stents in her heart. She's had other issues. She is of short stature, so just some things, regular repairs around the house and maintenance stuff is challenging for her. So we wanted to try to take care of a lot of those things. We also cleared out the entire basement. There was stuff in there from her parents from 60 years of living there that just needed to go, and she couldn't go up and down the stairs so many times to get rid of that. So that was part of our project too, to get rid of all the stuff from the basement that she didn't want. So it's pretty empty now, and she actually said that she's in the winter when it's on really cold days, she's probably just going to do laps in her basement to get her walking in for her that her doctor recommends. So
there you go. That's cool. Very good. Well, I bet she's very appreciative of that.
Oh, she is. She was so appreciative and so great to work with, and really fun. I mean, she's a very energetic lady and has a great attitude. I mean, she's lost some family members. It's been this whole journey through this house, and the one constant for her was that she's always had this home to go back to, and this is what she knows. And so for us to keep her there was just a remarkable thing, and it's really made a big impact in her life.
So how long did it take you to do that project?
We started on, the siding was removed on the 15th of April, and then we had a big couple of work days on the 17th and 18th.
Right.
And we came back with a smaller group the next Saturday, and then we finished on the following Saturday, May 2nd. So it was 4 big project work days with the asbestos removal company on the 15th, so maybe 5 big project work days there.
Well, and I see also that you redid some of the kitchen and the bathroom.
We did get new flooring in her bathroom. She had carpet in there before, which, as anybody knows, that's not a good idea.
No.
Right.
So we were able to get some vinyl flooring in there for her, and then her vanity was falling apart, and we were able to get this really nice maple vanity, give her a new sink top and faucet, and it was just amazing. She sat in the doorway of the bathroom after we put this in and just stood there for half an hour just staring at it, and she came out, tears running down her eyes, and just said, "I've never had anything this nice before." So it was just incredible to see how appreciative she was and how much she really did value the work that was put in.
Yeah, I always think it's really amazing, like the little things, like you never ever think of that. I mean, it just takes little effort for somebody else to do for someone that means so much to them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I see you built her a nice little shed, or you took down the existing.
We did.
What was in there?
There was just a few items in there. It wasn't as much as we thought when we opened it. But the shed, she'd gotten complaints from the city, neighbors, all that kind of stuff with the way it had looked previously.
Right.
People saying that it needs to go. So that was something we wanted to take care of, and it was too big. It was bigger than what she needed. She doesn't have a garage. She doesn't have a car. She basically just wanted something for her bicycle and a few shovels and her wagon and her lawnmower, and that was it.
Right.
So we just found a pre-made shed that we could put together, which is going to be no maintenance for her. It's made out of rigid plastic. So we tore down the old one, got rid of that, which was partially done by some special guests, which was a lot of fun. And then we also assembled the new shed and put it right in its place, and it looks great.
Well, tell us about these special guests that you had.
We ended up having a surprise for pretty much everybody but me, that the Green Bay Packers tailgate tour stopped at Madeline's home and volunteered with us for a few hours. So it was they do this tailgate tour every year where they go around a portion of the state and over 5 days and make a lot of stops. Well, we had this planned stop with them they wanted to keep as a surprise visit. There were 3 current players: Andrew Corliss, Micah Hyde, and Casey Hayward. 3 of their other alumni players, which were Bill Schrader, Antonio Freeman, and Gilbert Brown. And then 2 special alumni back from the 60s, Dave Robinson, and then also Jerry Kramer. So it was a really great experience. Everybody had a good time to work side by side with them. And as soon as they showed up, they were ready to work. So I gave them the shed demo as their first project. So they started, we gave them some sledgehammers and said, knock it down, and they just had a great time with that. And they started working to help assemble the new shed, and building some raised garden beds and doing some other work.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did you notice, were the neighbors appreciative that you came over, and were they glad for Madeline? Did you get a good response from her neighbors, and because she's been there for ever.
She's been there as long as pretty much anybody in the neighborhood, and she was basically her response to that question was that their jaws just dropped. But yeah, a lot of great response from the neighbors, people commenting, complimenting her on the house, how it looks, you know, and she feels great about it.
Oh, there it is. Very nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible work. We had some volunteers the last day do all the landscaping and filling, and she had we had to actually build up about 8 or 9 inches around the foundation because it was such a negative grade. There's no overhang on the house, so, and if the gutters aren't working properly, you're going to get a lot of water right there. So we just really built it up to make sure that the water's going to be sloping away and she doesn't get water in the basement anymore.
That's
well,
great.
Since that basement hadn't been cleaned out in 60 years, were there any like hidden treasures?
There were some, absolutely. She had some great vinyl records down there that we dusted off, and she was really pleased to find those again. That was one of the things she kept. And then there were a few other, you know, prized things she found from her grandmother and some other things, some of the family heirlooms. But a lot of the things were just, you know, sometimes you get in that situation, people struggle with what to let go of and what to hang on to.
Right.
And she was great about just saying, nope, let's get rid of this. We know I don't need this anymore. So some things were donated and some things were pitched that needed to be, and we got it out of her basement for
her. Huh. That's awesome. I mean,
yeah. And we repaired her basement steps. The stairs going down were pretty rickety, so we added a handrail which she didn't have before, and then also made them more structurally sound so they don't wobble
that's what I mean.
and bounce
Just about
anymore.
like the little thing, like a handrail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like where would you? I mean, it's kind of like, who do you call? Like, just put in a handrail, or you know, or put a dryer thing so you don't have like rodents come into your dryer vent, or you know, just like, I don't know. I think that's fantastic. So, do you have another project in the makes, or?
Well, we do this kind of each year. So generally, Hammer with Art projects happen in the spring, between kind of the middle of April, and the beginning of May, and then we move on. We get ready for our painting program, and then I'll start working on evaluations of the Hammer homes for next year, probably at the end of September or mid-September. And then we go through the process of meeting with everybody that's going to be involved again, rounding up, going back to our sponsors, getting the financial support needed, and then identifying projects from there and doing it all over again.
Is it kind of hard to be in your situation? I mean, don't you kind of want to help everybody?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, you know, and be like, I mean, I don't think I'd be like to be the guy like to deny someone, you know, like.
It's difficult. I mean, that is the hardest part when I have to make the calls to the homeowners that we can't help.
Right.
That is the most challenging. But what's nice about that is shortly after that, we move on to getting into the projects of the people that we can help each year.
Right.
So that kind of turns my attention to that, which really helps me kind of get past that part of it. But it is difficult. I mean, you go into these homes and you see the situations and hear the stories of everybody, and yeah, you wish you could say yes to everyone, but we've got certain limitations for us on the program. But we do the best we can, and we get a lot of great work done.
Well, I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Yes, keep up the good work.
Yeah, keep me posted. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
just check out our Facebook page, our website, projecthomewi.org.
Yep, I get your little email updates too.
You know what you have to do is like when you post it, like you post to, it comes to my page on my Facebook, but you can post directly to the Home Extension.
Okay.
Because I don't know how to like copy it over to there. Like I can't edit it. I don't know. It's a mess. I should probably go to my TC and take a class on Facebook, and I don't know. It's a mess.
Well, thank you for coming on the show and everything. Up next, we have a new do-it-yourself expert, Barbie.
Hi, and this is Barbe McKittrick, and she's going to be showing us how to build a birdhouse today. And I know Barbie personally because she's friends with my friend Katie, and I know that you are an avid bird watcher, and I know you like to build homes for them and put desirable things in your yard for them to come and visit. So today you're going to be building the birdhouse, but let's find out a little bit more about you. What would you like to tell us about you, and what got you into your love of birds? And
Okay. My mother was a professional photographer and did a lot of wildlife and bird photography, and I just kind of picked up the knack from her and keep carrying it on. So I have a house that has a bay window in my kitchen, and so I have built a bird garden out there.
oh,
And so within my bird garden, I keep adding to it and changing it so that I can photograph birds. And it's turned out to be such a good place to photograph birds that I just keep finding things and adding to it and changing to it, because if I left it the same, all of my photos would turn out to be exactly the same. So,
Right.
do you want me to kind of start out and show you what I'm going to do here?
well, I was just wondering, like, did you grow up in the area?
I grew up in Boscobel. I went to high school in Boscobel.
Where is that now?
Boscobel is out by Prairie du Chien, southwestern part of Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And then what made you venture down to this part of the state?
My husband's work.
Oh,
So
okay.
he worked in the Madison area. So after we got married, we came to the Madison area, and we currently have followed our children to live near Stoughton.
Oh,
So
I hear Stoughton's a wonderful town.
Stoughton is a beautiful town.
Yeah, I know somebody else that just moved there, and don't they have their parade?
It's in the Mai.
Yep. Is it
Coming
this
up
weekend?
this weekend. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard that's isn't Stoughton more of a Norwegian background?
Very Norwegian, yes.
Yeah.
yes.
So they should have like Lopsa down there and some other quite unique things from the Norwegian
Yes.
area.
Yes.
I do drive a Scandinavian Saab, if you're wondering. But I don't know if
You
it's
do?
anywhere but Norwegian.
Yeah, they'll have all kinds of Scandinavian food down there.
So,
Good
I mean,
place
if there's any other interesting things that you'd like to tell us about yourself before you start building your
I do.
birdhouse?
I do a lot of do-it-yourself projects.
Oh.
Most of them, I really don't know what I'm doing when I'm starting them. I just kind of have an idea, and I just start experimenting until I get it to be what I
Right.
want it to be. So when we're going to do this project today, I've never done this before.
Oh, okay.
I've had this tree branch out in my yard. I liked it, and I've had it for probably a year. And this is what I wanted to do to it. So when you asked me to do the show, I'm thinking, what can I do?
Right.
So we're going to tackle this.
Okay.
So,
And why did you pick this particular tree
I
or
picked
branch?
this is kind of an interesting tree branch. It's rotted out, so it has an opening that goes all the way down through the center of it. It also has a really nice natural knot hole in here, and it looks like some birds have already been inside of it.
Oh.
So we're going to put a bottom on it. We're going to put a top on it. And then I have not quite figured out what tree I'm going to put it in yet. So I'm not going to figure out today how we're going to attach it to the tree. Although if I put it in one of the big pine trees and decide to kind of put it in the crotch of the tree, I may very well. And I don't play with the chainsaw. I let my husband do that. So we're going to kind of possibly cut this into a V shape so
Right.
that I can sort of wedge it into the crotch of the tree where I want it. I want it to look the most natural as possible because my passion is photographing birds. So when I photograph birds in a natural setting, I want the bird to be the focal point of whatever I'm photographing rather
Right.
than a colorful birdhouse or a man-made painted birdhouse. So this is a very natural birdhouse. It's made of all kinds of things that are just laying around my house.
Right.
So, you ready for me to have at it?
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm taking you kind of want to just have the bird be the centerpiece instead of the birdhouse itself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And as you're building that, I'll just keep asking you questions and see how we go from there. Does it matter like what kind of bird birds are they attracted to different kind of bird houses
Yes.
or
Yes.
like do they have a style of living? Is there an anarchy in that or?
Yes. There are dwelling, cavity dwelling birds. So a bird that might be interested in this would be a chickadee or a nuthatch. Bluebirds are cavity dwellers, but they tend to live in a man-made birdhouse. A woodpecker might want to live in here. A wren would certainly inhabit this. A wren will inhabit anything. So if I put this in more of a wooded area,
Right.
I'm likely to get more wooded birds like a chickadee or a nuthatch or something like that. A woodpecker might possibly live in here also.
Oh, okay. So when your mother was doing this, did you guys live in like out in the country or?
No, she traveled. She traveled to wherever there was the potential for a good photograph, and she just photographed what was there. Her name is Betty France, so those of you who may very well know her would know her photography, and yes, that's my mom. My sister also does photography, and she is out of Mount Horeb, and her name is Vicki France Standel. So we're all photographers in my family. Among a lot of other hobbies that I have, this is one of my favorites.
Okay. Well, let's see how we do on this birdhouse.
Okay, so this is it. This is just a tree branch with a big hole in it. This is some scrap wood that I had in the basement.
Okay.
This is another piece of scrap wood that was around my house. And I have some moss that I got at St. Vinny's that when we're done with it, if there's any gaps and holes in it, that I'm going to fill it in with some moss. The roof, the point of this is that anybody can do it. The point is also that it doesn't have to be perfect. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make it, and if it comes out with gaps in it, that's just perfectly fine because we're not here to be perfectionists. What we want to do first is we want to drill holes before we put big screws into this.
Okay.
Because otherwise it will split out my boards.
Okay.
So we sawed this last night. My husband and I worked out on that together. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put this up here like so.
Okay.
And
do you want me to hold anything?
yes, I do. Let's see. How do I want to start this? I will let you get on. Let me turn this around here. Actually, maybe I want to do this by myself.
Okay.
All right. So we put this up here like so. I put this one up here first. Let's see where I'm at. Am I going the right way? Okay. There it is. And it's crooked.
That's
and
fine.
I actually like it that it's not perfect.
Right.
I like it that it kind of looks cobbled. So I'm not going to put in the other screw holes here because I know how noisy it is, and I know that it's just going to make that it's going to be less than perfect. So what we're going to do now is we're going to paint it. And what I wanted you to see here also is that what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a bottom on here, and I'm going to screw this bottom in, but I'm not going to do it right now just because of the noise and because it is hard oak. But what we will do is we will paint it so that it looks natural, and then we're going to just put some moss in there so it's got a real natural look, and that will be it. So we're going to just put in some.
So I know you have some wonderful photos of like cardinals and blue jays and.
Yeah, I'm better at photographing birds than I am making birdhouses. Can you tell?
Well, I don't know. You never know. Everybody needs somewhere to live, right?
There, and then we'll put some brown.
This goes right along with our project home. Building homes for everyone.
All right, and then we're going to put a little bit of water in here. This is already primed wood. This is from an old shelf that was in my basement. All right.
Okay.
And we're just going to paint it kind of a natural color. As natural as we can get it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if we turn it a little bit that way, maybe they'll be able to see.
And I'll put my paint over here.
Oh, it's like army camouflage green.
Yeah, just so it looks like kind of like the tree.
Oh, you paint also, don't you?
I paint whatever needs to be painted.
You don't paint on canvas? I thought you and Katie were painting on canvas.
Oh, when the notion hits me, I'll paint anything. So I'm not afraid to try anything when it comes to being creative.
Right.
And this week I'm staining a fiberglass door on the front of my house. I've never done that before. There is a trick to it, but
oh, what's that?
A fiberglass door. It's made out of fiberglass, and it's just a.
I know that.
Oh, it's a.
No,
wood,
what's the trick to it?
Oh, what's the trick to it? Is that it's a gel stain, and the stain has to sit on top of the door, and so you have to just be real careful with how you are consistent with pulling the stain down. into the.
Well, what's the most consistent way? Like a sponge or a thread?
No, a good paintbrush. Paintbrushes rule. You gotta have a good paintbrush.
You know, my friend
one,
Christy, she does a lot of painting, and she paints like people's houses for people, and she's like, you need to have a good paintbrush, you know, like for cutting and stuff like that.
There are different paintbrushes for all different kinds of paint. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. Got that top done. I'm gonna add some more brown.
Yeah, I mean, this took no time at all.
Good. Nobody can pick on me about how I screwed into birdhouses.
I don't think anybody said anything. I think it's just, you know, I mean, I think everybody pretty much like anyone, you know, takes an idea and then they put their own twist on it.
Yep.
Yeah, so put the idea out there and then, because not everybody does everything exactly the way.
Nope. Whoops, I want my new shirt.
So you got your water bottle there.
Yeah,
she was telling me earlier, you have to just carry a water bottle around with you and then spritz your clothes and then they look like they're not wrinkled. And then she also puts a splash of Febreze in there to make them fresh again. Huh. Who knows?
I'll tell you a little bit about my birds. When I photograph birds out my window, I do all kinds of different things, and I try to make them inexpensive. I try to change them out every year. I buy things at Goodwill. I get things like old sconces that have some wrought iron curls in them, and then if they have like a little flat candle holder on the top, I take out the little sharp thing.
Right.
And then I will lay birdseed in there. And it makes for beautiful photographs. And it's also quite pretty in the middle of a flower bed. So I find things like that enhance the landscaping and also make for good backdrops for photography. That said, I also try to make them as natural as possible.
Right.
I use a lot of clay pots. Sometimes I set pottery on its side. I use corn husk wreaths, and if they have like ears of corn in them, the birds will eat the corn out of it. And when the corn's gone, it's still a beautiful backdrop for photography. Some of the real pretty seeded, they're like sunflowers that are made out of bird seed, those kinds of things. I put those in the lawn sometimes and photograph in front of those.
So, well, with your with these bird feeders and all that, are there certain flowers and everything that you plant that attract different birds?
A lot of
hummingbirds or
hummingbirds. I put out. You make your own bird nectar. You don't want the ones that are colored because you don't want any artificial coloring in them. So you just take 3 parts of water to 1 part of sugar. When my bird feeders are empty, the birds, my little hummingbirds, will come up to the window and look in the window at me and flutter in front of the window because they want me to put more
of their stuff in there.
More of their sugar water out there for them.
So they keep those wings
Yeah,
going.
and actually my birds kind of do that too in the summer. They get so used to my feeding them that they will kind of wait. And as soon as I go out and replenish seed, they're waiting, and I don't even get into the house that they're all at the feeders again because they know that it was out of seed. The one thing about birding is you have to have a bird bath and you have to keep it clean. Interestingly enough, my catbird, I have a catbird that comes every year. That silly catbird.
What's a catbird?
What's a bird? It's a gray bird. It's a migratory bird, so it comes up in the summer. It's gray and it has a little black head. It's the one that many times it will mimic other animals. So a lot of times it will sound like a cat. It sounds like it's meowing because it's mimicking a cat.
Oh, really?
So anyway.
Wow, I didn't know that. So, well, it sounds like you got a pretty good bird restaurant going on over there with your repeat customers.
Yeah, you want to stay away from some of the bad seed and buy the seed that probably is the best and the most consistent are your black oil sunflower seeds. That's just a good one to stay with.
Every bird likes it?
Almost. Well, not all birds like it. Some birds prefer other seed. Chickadees love Niger seed.
No, what is that?
It's a little tiny black seed.
Oh.
It also is a good seed that you can put in a feeder that's got a small opening so that the grackles and the starlings don't particularly like it, and then they don't eat all of your seed. One thing I'm having trouble with this year are grackles and starlings and squirrels.
Oh.
I try to put squirrel barriers up, and they still. Am I good?
Yeah, that's great.
All right. All right. So there it is. I have not put any artificial paint on the inside. If we have enough time, I'll paint the inside of this, but otherwise for right now, I'm just going to do this.
Okay, and so now, okay, and then you also brought the water bottle. I mean, besides taking the wrinkles out of your clothes.
Yes, I'm going to put some old moss up. I found this moss at Goodwill, or is at St. Benny's. So I didn't have to go to the store and buy some. And then I'm just going to kind of shove it up in here. I read once that if I wanted moss to grow, natural moss to grow on like flower pots and things, so
you can take moss like this and it'll come back.
You take buttermilk. I read this. You take buttermilk and you put it, you spray your pot with water and you rub it with buttermilk and you keep it moist for a number of days until moss starts to grow, and then you have to kind of make sure it's in a moist place so that it stays moist.
Oh, just buttermilk?
Just buttermilk and live moss. So not this kind of moss. This is dead moss, but live moss.
You know, you'd almost think it would come back.
It might. You know, I have seen it where it, you know, I have seen some of it come back, but to say that it would, we don't really know that it would. But perhaps.
What, and doesn't moss normally grow like on the north side of like your house, or like on the north side of trees and stuff like that?
I don't know the answer to that. Possibly.
Well, I think it does because like that's where it gets the least amount of sun.
This water, see how this is really dusty and dry? So the water kind of makes it more moldable. But you can kind of see here that this is getting kind of pretty, and I can just stuff this down in here. And you can also see that it will photograph well.
Right.
My paint isn't quite dry, but for this, it doesn't really matter because the sloppier it looks, the better.
Right.
And the better it makes a picture. So I've got some of my gaps filled in. The other thing that I will do in this is I will drill holes in here so that there are breathe holes, so that it's not all just full of hot air in there, because the birds like it. It needs to have some kind of ventilation in there.
Right.
I'm also going to make it so that when I put the bottom on here, that I will put the natural side of the wood to the inside so that there's no chemicals from the paint, and that the little birds don't, I'm not going to paint anything like the inside of the hole so that the baby birds don't chip it, you know, they peck it off. And then when I put the screws in here, I'll put these screws on really good.
Right.
And then when the springtime comes around, then I can clean out the birdhouse and clean out all the old bird nests from the year before.
Wow.
Yep, I have to clean out my birdhouses all the time.
How long does that take? How many do you have over there?
I probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. Probably have some more this year.
Right.
Put some of them out kind of near the pine trees so I get some of the more woodland birds.
Well, if it's all sealed up like that, don't you worry about like it filling up with water? No. And I don't really know. You know, there will be some holes around the bottom. There will be holes down here so that some of that water will get out. But I've not really seen most birdhouses that you buy have like a little split across the bottom where there's an open end on them. Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I don't know that much.
I've never really. This is the first birdhouse I've ever actually made.
Oh, okay.
So, all right.
I think it looks fantastic.
So there we go.
And would you like put stuff on the outside, or?
You know, I brought some staples, and I thought about trying this. We'll try it. We'll see what it looks like.
What if this had a staple gun?
That would be perfect.
Right?
That actually would be perfect. but we don't have a staple gun. So if I wanted some moss to kind of come down the side or come down here, I do have a staple. And I have a hammer, if you would pass me that hammer.
Sure.
All right. We're not going to pound it all the way in just because we'd be pounding forever.
Right.
But anyway, here we kind of go.
Yeah.
So here's our birdhouse. Need to finish up some of the bottom parts and paint across the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will paint the underside of it also so that it's protected from the elements. So we have the outside protected. You don't need a bird perch on here. A bird perch, this has got a rough enough surface that the birds that are
they can hold on to
cavity dwelling birds, they will hang on to this. The one thing that a bird perch does sometimes is it actually causes predator birds or predator animals to be able to have a perching place so that they can go into the hole and
Right.
and cause damage to the baby birds.
Do squirrels ever try to take over our house?
They don't necessarily try to take over the house, but they will. They will get in there and tear apart the nest and harm the babies. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Starlings will get in there. The worst culprit that I have are the little English sparrows, the ones that are the dark ones with the little dark brown heads. They will go in and they actually pick the seeds. Or, I'm sorry, they'll pick the eggs apart and kill the eggs, and then they'll get the eggs out and drop them all over the ground. So if your birds if the birds that you want to have that come back every year, if they have a bad experience, they won't come back. So the more that you can do to prevent bad birds, the better.
Right.
With English sparrows, it's really hard to prevent them. You can pick seed that they don't necessarily like, but that doesn't always work. I just put up a purple martin house, and therefore I put special holes that starlings can't get in. But boy, when I'm just watching it, I don't have purple martins yet, but the starlings just continue to try and get into those holes. It's actually quite funny because they get halfway in and they try over and over and over again and they can't get in.
Right.
So, you try to discourage the birds that you don't want and you try to encourage the birds that you do want.
Okay. So just on a real quick recap,
Mm-hmm.
this is your homemade birdhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so all you really need to do is finish the bottom
Mm-hmm.
and then put the bottom on and do a little bit more painting if you wanted to. But I think it's a great idea. I mean, it doesn't, like, messier the better. I mean, it's not meant to be perfect. It's supposed to be like it came from the natural, and yeah, so if you'd like to see some of Barbie's photographs of her birds or whatnot, they'll be on our Facebook page, and then they also be, some of them will be on the Home Extension. And this is Barbie, and we'd like to thank her for
Thanks.
coming in. And
Thanks,
we'd like
Barbie.
to thank Jason today for coming on.
Nobody can make fun of how I screw holes in birdhouses. Promise. Okay.
Okay. So, and with that, everybody have a nice weekend and tune in.